EduTechGuys Radio, radio.edutechguys.com.
The opinions expressed on the site and its programs are those of participants and not intended to and do not necessarily reflect the opinions of any specific educational entity, sponsor, company, state, or government agency.
Hello and welcome to EduTechGuys Radio, brought to you by Southwest Arkansas Education Cooperative and Hope Public Schools. We want to give a big shout out to CDWG for their sponsorship through some of the equipment that we use here on the show. Good afternoon. I'm Dave.
Hey, and I'm Jeff.
There you go. We've been doing this. This is our 45th weekly episode podcast that we've done. I believe we are on a first name basis with those folks who are out there listening. So
I think we are too.
We appreciate you guys very much for tuning in and hanging out with us. We know some of you have endured the two of us and the three of us and the three of us when Greg is able to join us for the almost a year. And some of you have been here through all of that. I would imagine it'd be a lot like, sometimes, enduring the dentist for a year in the chair with him just digging around. I don't know. Anyway.
I like how you said digging around. That just makes it even worse.
Yes,
Hey, but seriously, I'm Jeff Madlock. That's David Henderson sitting across the room from me. I couldn't be near each other.
I'm way over here.
We want to give a big shout out to some of our sponsors. First of all, the Southwest Arkansas Educational Cooperative and Hope Public Schools for letting us put this bad boy on for you for 45. Did you already say this?
I did. I said all that.
You said CDWG too?
Yeah.
How did I miss that?
I don't know how you missed it.
I slipped into a time vortex. That's exactly what happened.
Yes.
Either way, hey, listen
the
to
anesthesia.
If you're listening to us right now, then you don't need the link to listen to us. But please check us out on the web, www.edutechguys.com. You can catch us on Twitter at twitter.com/edutechguys. You can catch us on Facebook at facebook.com/edutechguys. You can catch us on Instagram at instagram.com/edutechguys and plus.google.com or just google.com/ plus sign, the plus sign, if you know about Google Plus, the actual plus sign, EduTechGuys.
Yeah. And that's a new one to me, anyway.
It's a new one to me, too.
Well, there you go. We just discovered that we were there.
I kind of remember building it,
Yeah.
David and I were looking through some old files today, getting some stuff together, and we realized we built thousands of files. We just don't know where we put them all.
We don't put them.
We find them on occasion and go, hey, look, more files.
Organization and not our strong suit. You know what I'm saying?
Hey, it's going to be a good show today. We don't have a guest today. We had a guest, had a little rescheduling problem, and that's okay. It happens. People are busy. Next week, we have stuff coming on. We'll talk about those in between there, right before maybe some music.
Okay, cool.
Going to talk about Nick C., who's David's relative and who we've had on the show numerous times. But his new album's coming out in 9 days, and so we're going to give him a big plug here, play one of his songs off of that new album and one of our favorites from his other albums.
Yeah, that is Nick C, NIKSEA.com.
Hey, it's summertime. At least it is in Arkansas, and it's about to be everywhere else. If the schools aren't out yet, they're just about to be out.
Really, really close. It's funny. It's not funny. But Arkansas schools finished up last week. And I actually grew up in and around Pittsburgh, back east. Yes, I'm a quote-unquote transplanted Yankee. That's not what my father-in-law chooses to use, but I like to say transplanted Yankee. Anyway, but the school where I would have graduated from had I stayed there, their commencement either was last night or it is tonight, which I thought was
that's cool.
Interesting. I didn't realize things were going on this late. So, yeah. So some schools are out, some schools are getting out. I guess there are some schools who actually do the whole year-round thing, and, sorry.
Yeah, year-round. So, one of the cool things about summertime for tech guys is that that's the time they get most of their work in.
Yeah, well, a lot of times, a lot of the big projects are saved for the summer because most of the bodies that are there aren't there.
Aren't they? That's
Well,
right.
I was going to say something and I didn't. It was going to come out way uglier than I meant it to. So.
You meant the teachers were gone. No,
not just the teachers. All the bodies.
What's cool is that's true. And if you're out there listening right now, give us a holler at #ETGchat.
Yeah.
Tell us what you're doing for the summer, what big projects you have going on. I can tell you that a lot of big projects have to do with one-to-one. I don't like one-to-one anymore. I've actually decided, I probably said this last time, I don't think that's, one-to-one's a weird deal. Every kid's already one-to-one. Most kids coming to school have some form of smartphone. So, it's like saying,
Probably.
if a school provides a Chromebook and a kid's carrying a full-blown Nexus 7 in their pocket, they actually have a more powerful device in their pocket than a Chromebook.
Well, by the same token, though, to me, I agree with you in terms of the term one-to-one. I don't like the term one-to-one. To me, one-to-one, a one-to-one initiative should not necessarily be the school handing out equipment one-to-one for everybody. Instead, a one-to-one initiative says, oh, you've already got that Nexus 7 in your pocket. Oh, you've already got that iPad or iPad Pro that you got for Christmas or whatever. You've got that device. You don't need one. You have your one, but we do need to buy a one device for a student over here who doesn't have access to the equipment, to the technology. And so they end up with a Chromebook or an iPad or whatever it is the school district is rolling out. But rather than taking a big chunk of money and saying everybody gets device X, no, let the students who already have a device use their device and use less money to target those students. And I know that gets into a whole conversation about equality. Well, is it fair that student A, the school is providing a $200 Chromebook, and student B, they're not, because that student happens to come from a family who was able to get them a device? Here's my thing.
Yeah.
It's equal because they will both end up with the access that they need to work on the projects that they need to work on, to do the research that they need to do, to write the papers they need to write. I don't know. Maybe I'm just naive
I agree with
or
you.
pie in the sky, or I don't know.
I agree. I think you're exactly right. But what I was going to get at is I think a lot of schools are getting moving to Chromebooks this summer. Not that and a lot of schools are moving to iPads. It's kind of a give and give, but I think the integration of technology into the classroom, I think that's a term, or in air quotes there, integration of technology. I think that needs to be redefined and thrown out.
Yeah.
Because kids are using things like Google Docs or Office 365. They're doing their papers, they're doing their presentations, they're doing their research online, and then they find the apps that are best for them to get the job done.
Right.
And so I think that's a big deal, is that Subway. My lunch is making me a little gassy.
You don't have to say
I want to say it. They know who we are. That's what makes us special.
Oh, we're special, all right.
No, but
oh my gosh,
I think what's interesting is that
you're killing me, Smalls.
the integration piece is, forget trying to push one app in a classroom or push one app in a curriculum. Just provide the technology, allow the teachers to use that technology, and the students use that technology as needed.
Yes.
But yeah, I think that's where we're seeing a lot of more Chromebooks. I mean, Chromebooks are cheap. I mean, they're
Right, yeah.
and I mean cheap. They just cost the cost of them is nothing. I mean,
and
some schools
frankly,
are paying more for those old EEE machines years ago
Right,
than
yes.
we're paying for Chromebooks. I mean,
True.
$180 will get you a beautiful Chromebook,
Yeah.
with a 14-inch screen and a camera and a keyboard and a USB port and Chrome.
Yeah.
Which, boom. I mean, there's a lot of apps in the Chrome store. Mm-hmm. And, most of the kids are finding that, hey, this is all I need. I can stream my music. I can get my pictures. And, with unlimited storage already on board.
Well, and then the answer to the Chromebook itself, at least from my perspective, and we've talked about this before a little bit, but like my daughter played around with a Chromebook, and I say played around, and I use that term very loosely, but she used a Chromebook. In fact, played around is really the wrong term, because she used it pretty extensively and discovered there were some things that she liked to do that she just couldn't do on the Chromebook. And so she took a pass and said, "Nah, I don't really want this." Well, instead, I ended up getting her, now I can't remember the model, but it's an HP. It's a Chromebook, but instead of running Chrome OS, it runs a very bare bones version of Windows. And so she's running Windows 10 on this laptop. Now, I will tell you, it is way under storage capacity for what she needs. It comes with 32 gigs. The one that I got the cheapy one. I think it was $149, $199. I can't remember now.
Yeah.
It had 32 gigs of onboard storage, which sounds okay, except Windows has to be installed in that 32 gigs. So it's not like Windows plus 32 gigs. No. It's 32 gigs, and oh, by the way, let's dump Windows 10 on top of that. And so, I mean, she had I think when it was all said and done, I think I managed to get her storage up to about 5 or 6 gigs after Windows. Yeah, it was so bad. I mean, now at that point, we're also talking, I had installed the offline Office 365. So there was some, we were using up some real estate, but one of the things that we took advantage of was cheap micro SD prices.
Yeah.
So I got her a 64 gig micro SD, stick it in the side of the unit, go into Windows, redirect her storage out to that SSD, and she's been flying with it ever since. She does videos, she does, she writes her stories and whatever other creative stuff she's doing. Yeah, granted, she spends most of the time, watching YouTube videos and learning how to do everything from, make some kind of bracelet to how to cook this, to how to make that, to all the stuff that she's learning and doing and watching. But for her, it was a better option than the Chromebook. So I could actually see schools that are toying with the Chromebook idea, but are more inclined to Windows, possibly leaning into, looking at some of these kind of, I don't know what they're called. I don't know what you call a Windows Chromebook.
Yeah.
I don't know what you call that.
That's it. I don't know either.
I don't know.
But I think that's where the point we are with one-to-one is that we need to allow the kids to help make a decision of what they want.
Yes.
At that level, by the time they hit high school, junior high, they kind of know what they would like to use or what they use at home or things like that.
Right.
And if a school could start to subsidize purchasing for them, there's the beautiful part.
Sure.
I mean, it's really interesting how much money we spend on tech that, we keep refurbing and we keep renewing tech and spending all this money. It might be better off that, if you help a student and a student's parents subsidize their purchase of a machine in the 7th or 8th grade, that child might use that machine all the way through school.
Sure.
It's theirs. They're going to take care of it. I mean, this is the one I help pay for it. I put my stickers on it and make it mine.
Right.
Then they might actually take care of it a little longer.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's to me. I think we'll see a lot of builds on that. I think we'll see a lot of schools going to Google. Speaking of Google, I know Google had some I/O launches.
Yeah, I can't remember if it was last week, the week before. Google had their I/O summit or whatever their I/O conference, where they were releasing all kinds of different things, and we even talked a little bit about some of the stuff that was going on. Well, one of the things that this actually showed up, I guess, sometime last week, and I just found it today. I'm a slow reader, but some of the cool stuff that came out focuses on science specifically, and so they've really done some really cool things with Google Apps for Education in terms of rolling out science, tying GAF into science. For example, as part of its Making and Science initiative, Google Apps for Education released Science Journal, and that's a free app that uses sensors in Android phones or Arduino microcontrollers, that kind of stuff. So they have things like accelerometers and speed monitors, and you can measure decibel levels. I mean, all kinds of. So it's sight, sound, everything but taste, I guess. Which actually that's probably not far away. But students can take those components and then tie that into Google Apps for Education in terms of being able to report and monitor and chart. And I mean, it looks very cool. That's
pretty cool. That's a great link out there for it. David will share it out here in just a bit on Twitter.
Yeah. What I didn't say a while ago, and what I meant to say. It wasn't like I was hiding it or anything. But I came across an article from EdSurge, and I'll post that out here on Twitter, and you guys can take a look at that. But it actually does a very nice job of covering the different science pieces that Google has incorporated and beefed up GAF with. So very cool stuff.
Pretty cool stuff. Very cool stuff. What's really interesting about all that is that everything is coming out now, especially for STEM and STEAM. This is a big deal. STEM is a really big one. In fact, next week we have on the show the executive director from Rokenbach Education, which their new robotics piece is pretty amazing. We've got a Kickstarter out there right now. We'll share the Kickstarter out in just a bit. You can catch it at hashtag ETGChat. If you're listening right now and you're doing something special for the summer, tell us what your build is for your district or for whatever educational entity that you work for. Just hit the hashtag ETGChat, hashtag ETGChat, and let us know. Give us an idea. Tell us what you're thinking about doing this summer and what you're building up for your school. It will be awesome. And
and it would also help if I tweet that out from EduTechGuys and not my own.
David and his social media. Yeah, but great. Next week we have, I hope I say his name right, is Paul Eichen. He's the executive director of Rokenbach. And Rokenbach Education, it's a 501c3 public benefit corporation. And they're out to make STEM education more fun and meaningful for students. He'll be on the show next week. We have a great interview with him.
That's going to be cool.
If you do robotics or you know someone that does robotics, let them get in touch with us. We love to feature robotics on the show. That's a big deal. I think what's really neat, even with Rokenbach, is that more and more robotics companies for education, it's not just about programming, say, an Arduino controller and building these robots. They're also incorporating 3D printing, so you can actually learn how to print 3D pieces for your robot and build out from there. That's pretty cool.
It's very cool.
It's really funny. I was talking to someone just the other day about building a makerspace at their school. They were like, what do we need in a makerspace? And I was like, you need popsicle sticks and you need glue and what? No, we want the technology. I said, yeah, you don't really get it, do you? I said, it's all the same thing. I said, makerspace is a makerspace.
Right.
I said, yeah, you can get your 3D printers and you can get your Raspberry Pis and any of that kind of good stuff. And you can have your power hanging from the ceiling, but you also need compressed air and you need glue and paste.
Right.
And anything you can build with and Legos and the whole bit, because that's a big thing about a makerspace is that the other part is that I need maybe a computer that I can use Google SketchUp on, because there's the big deal, is to help those kids take their ideas, sketch them up, and then make them a reality.
Yes, exactly. And it's so funny that you're talking about that, like you said, popsicle sticks and all that, because if you'll go to Ginger Lumen, GingerLewman on Facebook, or at Ginger Lumen on Twitter, or you look up Kevin Honeycutt, and he is at Kevin Honeycutt on Twitter. They just posted a video where they were doing some stuff with a Steam Maker Junior camp, and the video shows a cardboard box with what looks like a dowel and some rubber bands and some construction paper, and essentially they made a box that when you twist the dowel, it makes the fish and I don't know if that's a sun or a flower, I think it's supposed to be the sun, but it makes them move back and forth in a makerspace, right? So you have this makerspace, and like you said, everybody thinks, you got to have tech, you got to do this, but really, this is cardboard box kind of stuff, and it's maker. You're making something out of something else.
Yeah,
very cool. I'm gonna see if I can. I'll see if I can
Ginger,
share that.
If you're not following Ginger or Kevin Honeycutt, Ginger Lumen or Kevin Honeycutt on Facebook or on Twitter, you need to follow it, because yesterday Ginger had a group of teachers that were building rockets using water pressure, and there's that whole process. The whole process of the project-based learning is what makes coders. It's what makes writers. It's what makes mathematicians. It's what makes scientists. So that's a big deal when you go to these PBL workshops in these STEAM and STEM makerspace areas. It's all about the process. It's all about thinking outside of the box, or with a cardboard under the seat thing, thinking inside the box, because inside the cardboard box.
Yes, exactly.
So, definitely worth looking at. So, that's a really great one you should check out. But yeah, once again, for them, if you'll check out hashtag ETGChat, you can find the links there for @GingerLumen or @KevinHoneycutt. If you're not already following those folks, definitely need to follow there, because they're a hoot. I tell you what, we're going to take a quick little break. We were talking about one of our favorite musicians on the show, and that is Nick C.
Yeah.
Nick has a new album coming out in 9 days.
Yeah.
So we're going to take about 4 or 5 minutes here.
Yeah.
I want to play you one of his tracks. This is a pre-release of a track coming out on his new album. It's the song called Completely Yours. Visit his website, www.niksea.com, and check it out for yourself. And we'll be right back right after this tune.
Your name, will you hear me? Cause honey, I'm just vibing on your energy when you're near me. And I know we have just begun, but I'm glad that we can give it a chance. Cause ain't no better feeling out and falling in love. My heart is not my own, and it's sinking like a stone. I'm completely yours. I'm completely yours. I'm completely yours. I'm completely yours. Well, love, every time that you cross my mind, I think of bright moonlight and a glass of wine, and slow dancing on the beach to our favorite song. And if nobody's looking, we can get it on. But I know we have just begun, and I'm glad that we can give it a chance. Cause ain't no better feeling out and falling in love. My heart is like a stone. My heart is not my own. I'm completely yours. I'm completely yours. I'm completely yours. I'm completely yours. When you look at me, the way my hair stands up when I hear you speak, the way my legs turn rubber when you love me down. I said, hey, little lover, can you hear me now? Well, I know we have just begun, and I'm glad that we can give it a chance. Cause ain't no better feeling out and falling in love. My heart is not my own. It's sinking like a stone. I'm completely yours. 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 I'm completely yours.
Hey, you're listening to EduTechGuys Radio, coming to you live from the Southwest Arkansas Educational Co-op in Hope, Arkansas. That was Nick C. Check him out at Nick C Music, NIKSEA_music, or his website, www.niksea.com. Hey, also check it out. Level Up in Texarkana on June 7th for 2 sessions. The EduTech guys will be there. 2 one-hour sessions. That's in Texarkana, Arkansas, coming up on the 7th. The next week, we'll be here at the Southwest Arkansas Educational Cooperative on June the 14th doing a large podcast workshop that will last several hours. If you'd like to check it out, you can go to the swaec.org, check out the ESC works, and see if you have a little room left in that old workshop area.
Yeah.
Also, HISTE, that very next day, will be at the Hot Springs Technology Institute in Hot Springs, Arkansas. That's June the 15th through the 16th. We'll be broadcasting live from the conference. That we'll be doing it, I guess, 8 hours a day.
Yeah. And we've got, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but we've also got a session, and we'll have to check the schedule, but I believe it is the 15th from 11 to 12.
Cool. We have a session on podcasting.
Yeah.
Just introductory. Other stuff coming up throughout the year. We'll be back at AESA in Savannah, Georgia.
Yeah.
And then after the first year, I think we'll be in FETC in Orlando, Florida, which is a big workshop.
Big one. It's a big one.
But if you'd like us to come to your place, just give us a holler. Visit www.edutechguys.com. Drop down to the bottom of the page, fill out the contact form, and let us know where you're at and what kind of workshop you'd like, and we'll come a-running.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, we'll drive, actually, because I only run when I'm being chased by something I don't think I can eat. So I don't run chased by wolves. That would be the only time I ran.
That's right. I'm running.
Unless they're giving away free food somewhere, then I'll run to that. But it can't be any farther than 10 yards. 10 yards is all I got. I'm like an alligator. I'm fast for 10 yards, but after that, I fall down.
Well, the one thing that I've learned, at least here, is now I know I just have to run 11 yards.
11 yards. If you can outrun me at 11 yards. Hey, we're talking about what's going down with PBL, what's going on with Summers this summer at your place. If you're listening to us right now, have a question, or would like to send something out, hit us at #ETGchat, and we'll bring it up on the show. We were talking about Chromebooks, and we're talking about build-outs this summer. You know what's really interesting, what's happening in the classroom is I think about all the time and money we used to spend wiring classrooms.
Oh, yeah, man. Yeah.
And, I mean, the time was the big one to wire a classroom and the money. I mean, thousands and thousands of feet of Cat 5 and Cat 6, fiber, blah, blah, blah. And now we really are pretty much 95% wireless.
Well, I think a lot of that is just, I don't even think. I mean, I know it has to do with the changing technology. I mean, I think back to some of the early days when I first started putting wireless in the place where I was working at the time. And in fact, I always say this was the biggest mistake I ever made when I was there. Instead of replacing the traditional desktops with hardwired connections, I bought some higher-end notebooks, laptops, and decided we were just going to go Wi-Fi in the computer lab. Well, it's a training facility, so I get all of the laptops all set up, right? I take all the other computers out. They were old. Let's get rid of them. Put in all new laptops. It's cool. It's sleek looking. You don't have these big monitors in the way. And then we had our first workshop with 30 people in it. And they were ready to hang me. It did not go well at all.
What's up with the speed, dude?
But I mean, you're talking, dog, I don't even know how long ago that was now. 99 maybe?
Oh, wow.
So, I mean, we certainly weren't doing any kind of enterprise level stuff. I mean, we were doing the, kind of off the shelf out of the big box store type connectivity there. And it was just, it was awful, but it was a lesson learned. And like I said, I mean, it was the biggest, as far as I'm concerned, the biggest mistake that I had made there, just trying to jump that far ahead of the curve without necessarily having the resources to really implement what I was trying to do.
Sure.
But, hey, we gave it a shot and tried it, and I left shortly after that. I don't know if that was a coincidence or not. No.
And now it's all about channels and waves and
strings.
Man.
And it's so...
Because now now we have so many devices right next to each other and all that good stuff. But it's funny how far Wi-Fi has come. But I was just thinking, most schools now are at the point where what would have cost an arm and a leg is now down to, one switch with access points powered over Ethernet.
Oh, yeah.
So,
Yeah.
it's like no big deal. So, hey, I'm going to cut out these other 5 I had in this room and just run
Right,
one into
and
the
run the
ceiling
one.
and be done. And
Yep, exactly.
yeah, it's a pretty good deal. And I figure there's probably, and most schools have caught up with that now, but it's a constant change going from, say, in to AC. That's a big push out right now.
Yeah.
But it's also interesting that what's changing in the handheld devices in the way that they use Wi-Fi, because now iPads, you can get a whole bunch of iPads crammed into one access point.
Sure.
When it comes right down to it, that's now some people will say, well, but you got the blah blah. Well, that's for the engineers to work out. The people that are trying to get them to work, a teacher could care less about that.
Right.
And I think that's the other funny part about tech guys and teachers and ed tech guys, and teachers don't care. I need these 30 iPads to work.
Right.
Period. I don't want to know about this band of this with the radio.
Well, and here's the funny thing about that. Frankly, that's where technology should be anyhow, right? You pick up, well, if you still own one, you pick up your phone, right? You pick up the receiver. You don't care how it works. You can pick it up, dial it. You put your key in the ignition of your car. Do you care how all the combustion internal workings of the
AC
engine
on in your house? You just want it to be cold.
Exactly. I don't necessarily care how that works. And really ultimately at the end user level, that's the way it all ought to be. It ought to be pretty well transparent, and it just works. Unfortunately, that's not always the way it happens. So, you have folks like us, the tech guys, running around trying to look under the hood and make sure that the engine does turn over when it's supposed to. Yeah.
It's funny. Taking a whole new direction here. Talking about the podcast workshops, we have some podcast workshops coming up at several places. So we said Level Up in Texarkana, the Hot Springs Technology Institute here at Southwest Arkansas Educational Cooperative in June. It's really funny how podcasts have suddenly come back into the mainstream. Mm-hmm. Have you noticed that?
Yeah.
And it's funny. I like to think that it's because of us, but
you're right. That is funny.
I know it is funny, isn't it? But it's I think it's because of the ease and the way technology has increased there. I mean, you can now get a USB, condenser microphone for next to nothing that gives you wonderful sound. I mean, like right here, we're using a blue microphone Yeti between the two of us on a setting that gives us a filament on each side of the microphone. So we're literally just sharing one microphone at this point.
Yeah.
Which it's really not. It's actually got 3 mics inside it, but we're using one microphone USB to get the word out. I think that's part of the reason podcasts maybe have caught back on, because it's so easy to create them at this point.
Oh shit! Well, and you don't even have to spend the $100 to $130 that the blue Yeti costs. You can you can buy a headset with a boom microphone and even podcast that way. Is it going to sound as good? Okay, may not necessarily, but it doesn't mean you can't start. And I think that's a big part of it. I did a podcasting workshop. It's weird to think how fast time flies, because now that I stop and think about it, this was probably 8 years ago. A district, one of our member districts, asked me to come down and do a workshop on podcasting for all their teachers. And I said, okay, well, we're going to need some equipment. And in those days, it was, you had to have you had to have some kind of an MP3 player, or we were all going to have to be sitting at computers or whatever. And they were like, oh, no, let's do it with recordable MP3 players and blah, blah, blah. And this was, like I said, I'm talking maybe 8 years ago or so. So, they might have had iPod, what we would call now iPod Classics. Maybe. Yeah. I don't believe touch was a thing. It may have been. I don't know. If it was in its infancy, and schools certainly weren't investing in lots of money. In fact, I think the district that I was working with, I think they bought the little cheapy $29.99, $29.99. Just generic MP3 players.
Yeah.
And so where I'm going with all this is, it was a pain in the butt. It was very convoluted. You had to record it into the device and then take the device and hook it to the computer in order to get the audio off, in order to pull it into Audacity, in order to edit, in order to turn around, and then in order to the district had set up several network shares in order to store the files. Well, then you had to explain to everybody how folders worked and how file systems worked. And then, of course, there was the, how do I take this and make it available on the web and all that. I mean, it was so complex and so convoluted. And now, I mean, heck, we use Mixlr right now. And, you literally, as long as you have a way to record, and at this point, I won't say every, but nearly every laptop has a built-in microphone. You tell it start. Oh, wait, I'm on the air. Oh, okay, we're going. All right. I mean, that's really how that works.
It's that easy.
Yeah.
I think it's really interesting that podcasting, and for that matter, there are several great podcasting apps out there for iOS and Android, and you can literally podcast directly from your phone. So, and phone microphones are really good, actually.
Yeah,
they're not bad at all. So, but I think that's really interesting, and now it is podcasting as much as it is live. Like we're live right now, but we'll drop this up to be a podcast, which that's all a podcast is a radio show.
Sure,
that's what it is. It's just for listening is at your own leisure.
Right.
So, but yeah, I think it's interesting where it's come from. You don't have to edit it anymore. You don't have to throw it into Audacity and convert it to this and blah, blah, blah. There's a lot of great hosts out there. I noticed that SoundCloud has actually made it even easier. I mean, you can actually run a podcast, maybe not a live show, but you can run a podcast, save your audio to SoundCloud, and then just embed those SoundCloud tracks into your website.
Yeah.
So no, you're not going to put those on iTunes, but if you're just trying to drive traffic to your website to listen to your podcast, that's a great way to go.
Well, and by the same token, if you're trying to drive traffic to your classroom site and you've got students who are creating those podcasts, or if you as a teacher are creating the podcast to reach out to other teachers, community members, parents, students, then you can store those up in a place like SoundCloud or some other venue, some other platform that, maybe it doesn't have all of the iTunes podcasting stuff, but that's not necessarily what your goal is anyway. You may, what that would allow you to do is store that file online, and then you get the link to it, and then you turn around and you share that link out with whoever your audience is. And so, it makes it real easy. I mean, heck, you can even podcast. It takes a little finagling, but you can podcast from storage that you have if you are a Google Apps for Education district in your Google Drive.
Yep.
Store the files in Google Drive, and there are lots of help videos and help sites that will walk you through the step-by-step if to get all of the other behind-the-scenes stuff going. But from a basic standpoint, you don't even need all that stuff. You can throw it up there and share it out just like you share any other file in your Google Drive, and boom, you've got your audio file that you're sharing with whoever your audience is.
And it's great.
It's awesome.
Audio file or video file. And
well, right.
And if you want to, the cool part is that inside Google Classroom, you can share it inside Google Classroom if you're just doing this for the students.
Yeah.
Whether it's video, audio, or both. But David's right. There's tons of things out there about embedding it in there, so you can put a nice embeddable player right there into your website with your latest podcast, which really gets you to the point of pretty much you probably have in your classroom right now exactly what you need to start your own podcast.
Well, yeah, because most likely it's either sitting on your desk or in your purse or whatever you happen to carry your phone in, because literally. There you go.
Yep. And
you got a phone? Oh, hey, you can podcast. Oh, I'm sorry. You don't have a phone? I will bet at least one of your students has a phone. Fire it up. And, really, you record it and go it. Yeah.
The cool part is that if you really wanted to get into the hardcore stuff and you're teaching, say, a coding class or a math class or something like that, and you have a kid that wants to do a little more, then look at RSS XML. Because then maybe they want to build that feed for your classroom. And maybe they're the ones that are going to build the next great feed that Google Drive needs to create RSS feeds for Google Drive so that they can be picked up by iTunes. So that's one of those in-depth things. So if you're looking for some great workshops, give us a holler. We can talk ad nauseum and show you lots of examples. As many
of you are well aware.
Show you lots of examples of this good stuff.
Yeah. Well, and that's one of the things that one of the many things that we cover when we come out to your place and do a workshop. And we can do what's really cool about what we do, at least, not to pat ourselves on the back, but still, what's really cool about the way we approach this is, we can give you a 1 hour kind of a high level overview. Hey, here's podcasting, and we don't really say it that way. I mean, we basically do a live show geared for your teachers, administrators, your parents, whoever you want us to talk to. We do it right there, and it's interactive, and we get them up, and there's trivia and prizes and all kinds of cool stuff. But that can also be expanded into 3 hour or 6 hour or longer workshops where we can really start to get in depth and get into some of the meat, some of the behind the scenes. How do you tie all this stuff into a Google Classroom that you're already using? Or we just now started Google Apps for Education in our district, and we're interested in doing the podcast thing, but we don't know anything. We can help guide you the entire process. I mean,
the real fun part about this is that the learning aspect that goes into it is just not about creating a radio show. It's also learning the social media aspects. It's also learning writing your show notes, creating your interaction and your emails with your guests, creating the shows that you're going to be putting on the air. The writing piece of putting on this show is 60% of what we do for the week. It's writing.
Oh, yeah. Oh, well.
It's planning and writing. And using Google Apps and using a Google Drive to keep ourselves organized is something that every teacher would love in a classroom.
Oh, yeah.
And integrating it into Google Classroom is beautiful. It's just really, really exciting. And that's some of the fun part for some of the kids. Some kids love that aspect of it, is that, I'm putting this shared document out there, this shared picture. I'm building a graphic for the next show. I'm building this sound clip for the next show. I'm building a commercial for the next show. Lots of fun, especially if, it's English class, you're doing the Globe Theater for 1 month. You're probably looking at hours and hours and hours of really great content for podcasts and video podcasts.
Oh, yeah.
Dealing with Shakespeare and just the Globe Theater and Shakespeare.
Yeah.
I mean, fun times. Hey, tell you what, we're going to take another quick break here. Want to give a shout out to Nick C. Just got a nice pop in from him on Twitter, telling us thanks for the shout out. Nick, you're welcome. And we're going to play one more song from Nick. Don't forget, June 10th, his album will be out. Check www.nicksea.com. This is another great tune from our buddy Nick C called Just Love Me. We'll be right back.
When your eyes they gaze upon me and your silhouette is near, all I will ask of you is to love me down, 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 with your mercy all around. And when your poetry is clear, all I will ask of you is to love me now, now, now. Oh, I love you more than words can say. Oh, I ain't throwing that word, no. Just love me, just love me, just love me like you want to. Just love me, just love like only you know to. I could fade out in your love like the summer's warm sunlight. And all I will ask of you is to hold me tight. With your gentle arms around me, like whisper winds at mine. Just have to ask of you to go all night,
boy can sing.
That's right. Thanks to Nick C. That's a great tune. I'm sorry.
That's my cousin. He's not my boy, but that's my cousin.
Hey, that's Nick C with Just Love Me. One thing, Nick, we actually feature his music here a lot because he is, I listen to his music all the time. It's on one of my big playlists. And that's a compliment, Nick, because I only listen to the good stuff, man, and that's the good stuff.
Hey,
so
there you go.
check out his new album coming out in 9 days. Just hit nickc.com, niksea.com, and find out where you can get it, where it's coming out, and all that good stuff.
Exactly. And if you are a musical artist who plays the good stuff, by all means, man, drop us a line. You can either hit us up on Twitter at EduTechGuys or go to www.edutechguys.com. Scroll to the bottom of that page, leave your information, and we'll get in touch with you. We would love to feature you on our show.
Heck yeah. We're a little goofy today. We're a little goofy every day.
Well, you know.
Hey, listen up. You know what time it is?
It's time for my favorite time of the week. It's my favorite time of the week.
What time is it, David?
It's Google App of the Week.
You're getting better at that.
I'm getting there.
I'll give you props on that
Thanks. That was not the good stuff.
That was some good stuff. Hey, last week, a couple of weeks ago, we talked about Google Outlines, document outlines that were available in Google Docs. That was back in March, like March the 22nd, that Google released that, which was the ability for you to find an outline. It would build outlines in your docs for you. So if you had large docs, you could scroll through it. Well, as of today, Google has released it for iOS.
Sweet.
So now inside iOS, you can find the outline in your Google Docs, which is pretty cool.
That's very cool. I will tell you, I've been very impressed with Google's ability. I don't know if ability is the right word, but what I'm trying to say is they try to take whatever they're doing in the browser and pulling it over to their to various mobile devices. And I'm very impressed with what they've done in terms of iOS, because it's very well known Apple and Google do not necessarily play together well in the sandbox. But it's nice to see that over the course of time, things have developed to such a way, in such a manner that they can do things like this. So Google now has document outlines for your Google Docs on your iOS device, not just in the web browser. That's very, very cool.
We know what that does. What that tells me is that at least Google and Apple are in it for the kids. I just want to throw that out there.
Yeah, that's what they're in it for.
Is that what they're in it for?
No.
Well, they're not. They're not in it for.
Okay. Whatever brings in the bacon.
That makes me happy to say it.
All right.
So yeah, there's Google App of the Week. Check it out now. Document Outline now available in the Google Docs app on your iOS device. Just take a look for your hashtag ETGchat or follow us at EduTechGuys, and you can find a link to that.
Yeah.
Always remember that the new stuff from Google is at whatsnew.googleapps.com. Their calendar's out. You can check it out and find out what they've released and what they're going to release. If they have something that they know they're going to release pretty quickly, it will show up on whatsnew.googleapps.com. You can check months ahead and months behind. Find out if you missed anything, because Google releases stuff a lot. So you need to definitely check that out. Hey, you know what? It's about time to do that other thing we do, and that's called Wrap It Up.
I had no idea where you were going. I was like, what's the other thing we do?
We wrap this thing up like a Christmas present.
Like a Christmas present with a bow and a little ribbon.
Hey, listen, it's been a great show today. Catch us next week when we have a special guest who will be here on the show. He won't actually be here on the show, but he will be coming from Rokenbach Education. He'll be probably Skyping in. That's where most of our guests come in. It's the CEO and the executive director of Rokenbach Education to talk to us about their new Kickstarter that's out there, their new push for their robotics for students.
And it is very, very cool.
Very cool. And we'll be talking with him next week. So be sure and check out EduTechGuys next week.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you're just tuning in for the first time, or you've missed some of our other shows in the past, by all means, you can check us out on iTunes. just hunt down EduTechGuys, and you can pull up our other shows, or you can also go to EduTechGuys.com and pull up our previous show reel from there and check out our previous shows.
Yeah, just hit the podcast page and you'll see everything we've done.
Everything.
Hey, listen, it's been a great show. I'm Jeff Madlock.
I'm David Henderson.
We'll catch you next time.
You've been listening to EduTech Guys Radio, radio.edutechguys.com.
The opinions expressed on the site and its programs are those of participants and not intended to and do not necessarily reflect the opinions of any specific educational entity, sponsor, company, state, or government agency.